Hi, Julia. Rena?
No audio. Okay, I'm back on. I'm eating some soup. So and when we get started, I'll come back on.
Okay.
But we don't have much on our agenda, right? Because you're gonna do
No, we are moving to hold on the second item.
right. Okay.
Um, so I may take that up, that item up first in case there are people that are only here for that item.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And if one of you would like to move to hold on that, because the JPG has asked for 90 days, another 90 days on that. So we just have to take a vote. Uh, uh, yeah, take a vote that we grant the JPG 90 more days. And then we can move to the other item. So do we have a quorum here? Let's see. Whew. So we have Getz, we have Malachi, we have Danberg, we have Lipoff, we have Oliver, we have Counselor Wright, we have Lucas.
You have Kelly.
We have Kelly.
You have
We have
Albright.
Counselor Gentile. Good, we've got a full contingent. Did I get everybody? Okay, it is now 7 o'clock.
Chair, I think Mark is not here.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Counselor Lucas. He did get to me and let me know that that he cannot make it tonight. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so I think we can begin the meeting. We have a quorum. Tonight is the 16th, Thursday, the 16th of January 2025. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Real Property Reuse Committee. We have two items on the agenda tonight. And here at the beginning of the meeting are Counselor Oliver from Ward 1, Counselor Lucas from Ward 2 and Vice Chair of the committee, Counselor Malachi from Ward 3, Counselor Gentile from Ward 4, Counselor Getz from Ward 5, myself, Counselor Danberg from Ward 6 and the chair, Counselor Lipoff from Ward 8, and Counselor Laredo, as we have mentioned, cannot join us tonight, but also joining us, not part of the committee, but always welcome, are Counselor Pam Wright from Ward 3, one of the counselors from the area of the item for tonight that we will be discussing. Counselor Kelly from Ward 3 also. And in addition, we have our attorney, Lawrence Lee, with us. We have John Sisson, who is the development. What is your title exactly, John, please?
Economic Development Director.
Economic Development Director. Thank you very much. We have Counselor Albright from Ward 2. Did I miss anyone?
Andrew Lee.
Madam Chair, just to make sure there's no confusion, Andrew Lee.
Oh,
the
I'm
attorney-
sorry, Laura, of course. We
Too-
have
too many
Andrew
attorney
Lee
leads,
from
I
the city
understand.
with us. He is our city attorney, and we have Lawrence Lee, who will be speaking to us tonight because he is the attorney for the prospective new owners of the property. So I think we can get started at this point. I will read the item into the record. It is item number 205-24, reuse of parcel of land on Chestnut Street. The Director of Planning and Development submitting on April 8th, 2024, a letter stating that the 8 parking places on city-owned property at 25 Chestnut Street should be made available for sale or lease pursuant to the city ordinance, Newton City Ordinances, section 2-7. We have a second note, item on the agenda, which we can, I think, dispense very quickly, and perhaps I will take that up first, because it is item number 3624, the reuse of the parcel of land on Grove and Hancock Streets in Ward 4. This is the Director of Planning in a letter November 3rd, stating that the 36,000 square foot city parcel owned by the city at 169 Grove Street and 136 Hancock should be made available for sale or lease. We have held two meetings on that. It was moved to hold in both meetings. And tonight, since the JPG has asked for a 90-day extension regarding this item, do we have any discussion on it? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion that we grant the JPG a 90-day extension. So first, let's see if we have any discussion on that item. Counselors, yes, Counselor Oliver.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I am curious, I did attend, excuse me, I did attend the last meeting of the JAPG, and there was extensive conversation about, kind of I think it's fair to say the lack of information that they had at hand. And I'm wondering if they have provided any detail as to what information they're seeking, and if they have started the process of reaching out to whomever might have that information to kind of start to collect it, because it did feel to me that there was a kind of this I don't want to use the word impasse because that's too strong, but there was definitely confusion about their ability to request information from certain parties. And I'm just wondering, I don't have a problem extending the timeline per se, but I do want to ensure that they have a clear vision for what it is they're looking to get and who they're going to get it from.
Thank you, Counselor Oliver. And I think I will now recognize Barney Heath, the Director of Planning, whom I did not recognize before, and we will see if he can shed some light on that, and then I will move to Counselor Gentile. Go ahead, Mr. Heath.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that. Counselor Oliver's right. The committee wanted to do a little more due diligence on their end. We have been providing information, been the conduit for information from the school administration, the Parks Department, the Historic Commission didn't necessarily go to the Housing Partnership, but they decided that they'd like to undertake those items themselves and approach those bodies to get kind of firsthand information from each of those entities. So they've gone about doing that. I know that they're going to be approaching the partnership, and that members of the committee have kind of aligned themselves with tasks where they would approach the school administration and the Parks Department to get firsthand responses. So that's
Is
why
that-
they're looking for the additional 90 days, because they thought it might take them that long to get on an agenda to address those parties and see if they can get answers directly.
Okay. Counselor Oliver, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think Director Heath is right. I know that they were talking about getting some information from Parks and Rec, certainly NPS, although I don't think NPS is in a position to answer the question that they have. But getting that confirmation from either Dr. Nolan or the school committee, whomever else is they're gonna be petitioning would be great.
If you remember, Counselor Oliver, and back me up on this, or correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Heath, we did receive a letter from Anna Nolan a number of months ago
Yep.
stating that she was not interested in the entire parcel, that she did not want or had no use for the parcels that had the buildings on them. Is that correct in your memory, Counselor Heath, Director Heath?
I can't recall the exact language, but I think we've been saying that the school administration has told us that they're don't have any plans, let me put it that way, in the immediate future to do anything concerning that property. That's I'd have to go back and see what the letter said, but it was words to that extent.
Okay,
Yeah, they did read the letter during the last JAPG and it was, Dr. Nolan was basically saying, not that they didn't have any use for it, didn't want to use it, they hadn't assessed it. They have a process that they have to go through in order to arrive at that answer. So I think really it was more or less we're not sure if we need it. That's my paraphrasing of the perspective that Dr. Nolan provided, but I don't want to get off track on that front now. It does sound to me like some of the requests have happened. That's great. If it is at all appropriate, I would really like to see those memos. Like, I want to be able to follow that process, kind of that bouncing ball as it goes through the system. If those could be made available to the committee here, that would be fantastic. But that's all for me, Chair. I don't mean to kind of, go down a rabbit hole here. Thank you.
Mr. Heath, you've made note of that. Good, okay. I also want to mention that Cassidy Flynn is with us, and she's the clerk of this committee. Counselor Gentile.
So as I mentioned at the last JAPG meeting, that over the last 36 years, I have been involved with every reuse petition that's come involved in front of the council in various degrees. And this is one of the trickiest JAPGs that I have seen. And I encouraged them at the last meeting that if they felt that they needed more time, to request the time to be able to do their job. And because it's so tricky, it's going to take some time. And I'm pleased to hear that they have sort of broken up the responsibilities of the information that they are trying to get. So having heard that, I would like to move the request that they be given the 90-day extension. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments or questions from the committee? Okay, given none, I will, let's take a vote now. So, Counselor Gentile has made a motion that we grant the JPG another 90 days. Um, all the ayes will raise their hand, please.
Can we just say voice vote?
Yes, we'll take it on.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any no? And abstentions? No. Okay. The ayes have it. So we will grant them another 90 days. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to the,
Counselor Danberg,
yes,
I apologize. Can we just take a vote to hold that item?
of course. Would somebody like to make a motion to hold?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Granted. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So now let's move on to item number 205-24. The Director of Planning and Development stating that the 8 parking places on city-owned property at 25 Chestnut should be made available for sale or lease pursuant to the City of Newton Ordinances, Section 2-7. And I think we will start with an overview from Mr. Heath.
Thank you, Chair Dernberg. And I'll be brief because I know this item has come before you already. I think when we were last before you, we were looking at this issue. We recognized that the 8 spaces in question were partially owned by the owner of the property at 1 Chestnut and partially owned as part of the police annex. There was a question, I think, at the last meeting to determine what the percentage actually was. So we had John Daglian from our engineering division take a look at the surveyed plans, and he determined that the entire space under consideration is 1,454 odd square feet, and the city portion is approximately 69% of that, and the 1 Chestnut Street property portion is 31%. So I think that was the main outstanding question. The only thing that has changed, I think that there's a new prospective owner of the property. And I know Attorney Lawrence Lee is here tonight to kind of represent who that would be and what the operation would be. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Heath at this point? If not, let's move to Attorney Andrew Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
So as Director Heath mentioned, this item was before the reuse committee previously. As I do at the beginning of most reuse meetings, I'm going to go through the process, but I think it's important to note at the last reuse meeting that this item was taken up, there was no formal action by the Real Property Reuse Committee. What that means is this is a true reminder. I'm just recycling the same presentation I gave at the last meeting on what formal actions the reuse committee can take. So to make it clear, we are at this stage where there is that red box in the real property reuse process. And that stage is making an initial determination to make the property available for sale or lease. This is a non-binding determination. What the initial determination for sale or lease does is it starts the process of evaluating whether or not to more or less to explore the option of making the property available for sale or lease. The other option the Real Property Reuse Committee has is to determine that the property should be used for city purposes. And if that is the Real Property Reuse Committee's determination, then that will stop the process and that will be the recommendation that is given to the full city council. If the determination is to make the property available for sale or lease, what that does is it starts the process of creating a joint advisory planning group. However, the joint advisory planning group, that requirement can be waived when the property contains no buildings, as is the case here. If the Real Property Use Committee again, makes the initial determination to make the property available for sale, and then also votes to waive the JAPG, they can just rely on the previously provided report from the Director of Planning and Development, or they can request a new report from the Director of Planning and Development. And then depending on all the possible actions of the Real Property Reuse Committee, at some point, a public hearing has to be held. The public hearing has to be held from within 60 days if, for example, the Real Property Reuse Committee were to waive the requirement of a JAPG tonight. After the public hearing, the Real Property Reuse Committee will then determine to make a formal recommendation to the City Council on disposition of the property. If they recommend that the property be sold or leased, they have to set the minimum sale price. And by resolution, they can also set specific use characteristics of the property. The Real Property Use Committee at that stage can also recommend that the property be retained by the city and identify which department should have it and then for what purpose. However, just to be clear, these are recommendations, and then the City Council and their vote is also a recommendation to the mayor. A 2/3 vote is required, and whatever the recommendation is, the mayor can take it into consideration and proceed accordingly. So, very quick summary of the potential actions for tonight. The Real Property Use Committee can make that non-binding initial determination to make the property available for sale or lease, or can make a determination that the property be continue to be used for the city. If they make the determination that the property be available for sale or lease, they also have to make a determination to waive the JAPG or to hold the JAPG. After all of that, they could request an additional report, but this is purely optional. After that is set, there has to be a public hearing. So this is very much like a choose your adventure kind of situation where whatever the Real Property Use Committee does tonight is going to be dependent on that initial action. And again, I'm going to say it one more time, making a non-binding initial determination to make the property available for sale or lease. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Attorney Lee. Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Lee at this point? Counselor Gentile.
Madam Chair, I really don't have any questions. I would like to actually make a motion, but I will wait until other people have had a chance to ask whatever questions they have.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Oliver.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Chair. I think the only question I really have for Mr. Lee is within the scope of said additional report, is there any limitation as to what additional information we might ask for? Like, are there like what are the normal bounds, I guess might be another way to put it. You know, I've only gone through this process 2 or 3 times now and never really considered requesting additional reports.
That has been done before, but just I think it's really important to understand what that additional report is, right? That additional report is in lieu of getting a report from the JAPG. So the JAPG and the content of that report is the recommendations on identifying future uses of the property and an ultimate recommendation of if it should be for sale or lease. So that would basically be the confines of the report from the director. It's not so much a request for a report with specific information and things like that. That one you can just ask the director or anybody, and if anyone in the city, and if they have the information, they can provide it. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. It does. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I have no other questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counselor Maliki, then Lipoff, and then I'm going to call on, before we do any, take any votes on anything, I'm going to call on Attorney Lawrence Lee, who is here to give us a short presentation of his own, because I think that that will shed some light on issues that people may have questions on, and then we'll have questions again. Counselor Maliki?
Thanks. Maybe we should just hear from Lawrence Lee right now, and so that we know what information he's going to present. And as far as I know, he is still the attorney for the current owners of the building, not the prospective owners, Hilliards. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Lee? That's, yes.
Yes, I am
Um,
the, yes,
Okay.
correct.
Counselor Lipoff?
Yes, a reminder that tonight is not really to talk about sale or lease. It's one over the other. It's really, do we want to put this piece of city land that's been used by that building and by our police department to put that up for sale or lease? So what I'd like to see tonight is that we just do that, that we call for the public hearing, that we waive the JAPG, that we keep this moving to a resolution. That ultimately has to be good for the building owner and for ultimately Hilliard's, as well as our police department. This is a unique situation. This isn't a piece of a playground that we're trying to figure out to let go to do something. This is land that is currently used by the police department in some way, and we're trying to figure out the best way to work with the neighbor to create a vibrant business that'll be great for West Newton. So we're going to have a lot of time left after the public hearing to talk and debate over sale or lease. But if you feel that this is worthy of putting up for sale or lease and moving this forward, that's what this vote is about tonight, Madam Chair, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And thank you very much, Counselor Lipoff. Counselor Getz, then Counselor Oliver.
Okay, I actually pulled up an aerial, just to refresh my memory in terms of what we're talking about, the 8 parking spaces. But what my concern is, and I don't know whether or not it's appropriate right now to have this discussion, but I'd like to know the current use, who's using those spaces currently. Is there any sense of that, or do we have anybody that could give us that information tonight?
Counselor Getz, let's listen to the presentation by Attorney Lee first, Attorney Lawrence Lee. Then we will bring it back into the committee for discussion. Counselor Oliver, then Gentile.
Actually, I was going to ask if we're going to listen to Attorney Lee before we come back in and discuss it. So if that's what we're going to do, I'll just sit down and be quiet.
Great. Okay, Counselor Gentile, please.
So I want to agree 100% with Counsel Lipoff that tonight, the only action that we can take, especially since hearing from the law department, is a motion to waive the requirement of a JAPG. And so I'm going to make that motion right now that we do that. If you want to listen to other stuff, it's okay to do so, but I want to waive the requirement. I want to make the motion to waive the requirement of a JAPG.
It's not needed, but I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Lee.
just a point of clarification. So really, I think that motion is appropriate, but there needs to be something in conjunction with it, which is a motion to make the initial determination that the property be available for sale or lease and to waive the JPG.
Okay. Counselor Oliver, on that topic?
Wait.
Yes.
Madam Chair, since it's my motion, hearing what I heard from from the law department, I would say, for a sale or lease, I prefer sale, but I don't want to get into that tonight. So I would add to my motion that we waive the requirement for a JAPG, and then we set a for sale or lease of the property.
Yes, do we need two separate motions on that, Cassidy? Ms. Flynn?
Sorry, I think I have another question then. I thought
Hold on,
our-
just 1 second. Let's get an answer from whether we need that in two motions or can we do it in one?
No. Counselor's Gentile motion is fine.
Fine, okay. Counselor Oliver, yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Again, my apologies if I'm getting this wrong, but I thought tonight we were making two decisions. Do we want to make this land available at all for either lease or sale?
That's correct.
And then whether or not to, waive the JAPG.
That's correct.
Okay, so.
Madam Chair,
to
I'm
me-
sorry to interrupt. That's
Yes.
not completely correct. And I do want to be as clear as possible. It's an initial determination. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Initial determination to make the property available for sale or lease is somewhat of a misnomer because there's no real determination by the reuse committee that they want the property to be sold or they want it to be leased. Really what the real property reuse committee is saying is, are we going to continue with this evaluation process? The initial determination is non-binding in any way. If, for example, the reuse committee looked at it and said, there's no way we would ever sell it or lease it. The city needs it 100%. Then the initial determination would be that the city is going to keep it, and that is the determination. But if there's any desire on the reuse committee part to just evaluate, continue with the process to see if eventually it could be made available for sale or lease, truly available for sale or lease, that's really the determination tonight. So again, just to be clear, there's no one is deciding tonight, yes, we want to sell it. Yes, we want to lease it. All it is do we want to continue with the process that will allow us to make that recommendation later after the public hearing?
Got it.
Good, thank you. Getz then Gentile.
No, sorry. So then I just want to clarify. So that determination, like, for example, I'll be like, I'll play all my cards. I don't want to sell this land. I think the city should retain it. That's a decision that we would theoretically be in a best position to determine after the public hearing. Is that
Right.
true, Attorney Lee?
That is a determination you can make tonight if that's the will of the reuse committee or after the public hearing. Nothing you do tonight will preclude the reuse committee at a later date from ultimately making a recommendation that the city retain the property.
Great, thank you. I guess that's all I really needed. Thank you. And again, apologies for the newbiness of the questions.
Apologies, take it. Thank you. Counselor Getz.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was. I want to have the public hearing. I want to hear from Attorney Lawrence Lee, but I do not want us to consider sale or lease until both of those have happened. Okay,
Okay, you're clear that that is not going to happen.
correct. Yep,
The
I got it.
determination is initial. It's not, we're not making any final decision on that tonight.
Okay,
Okay, Counselor Gentile, then Malachi.
So I agree with John. Well, actually, we disagree because my inclination is that we should sell it. He's not inclined to sell it. But where I think we're in agreement is that we should set a public hearing. And I hope that I am, paraphrasing that correctly. And so that's why I made the motion that I did, was to set the public hearing.
Okay, and I think we need to start, Counselor Gentile, with a determination as to whether the committee wants to proceed and make an initial determination. So I think we can do those in one vote. It'll be three things in one vote. Counselor Malachi.
Thanks. So my question is also kind of about down the road. I guess I'd like to be reassured that if we, we're being presented this plan whereby, as I understand it, and I guess we'll get more information from Lawrence Lee, that Hilliard's would buy the property if they can get the parking. So I would like to be reassured that if we vote for the initial determination that we could make it available for sale or lease based on that representation, that if that somehow turns out not to be the case, that we have not ceded all of our future control.
Attorney Lee,
So just to be clear, you wouldn't even be making that determination tonight. That would be, for example, I'm not saying that that is the determination that will be made, but you could have those discussions and we can more fully explore kind of what controls the city might have after the public hearing and the reuse committee is making their actual recommendation to the city council. For tonight's purposes, that is all not completely relevant because again, there's no real determination being made tonight except do we want to continue with this process and have the public hearing? So nothing you do tonight is going to bind the reuse committee's hands in any way.
And we haven't ceded control over who we lease the property to.
Not in any way.
Okay, well, I'm all on board for the public hearing and moving things along. Thank you.
good. Okay. Counselor Gentile, and I want to let the public know that tonight is not a night for public comment. That will come in the public hearing. Go ahead, Counselor Gentile.
So I just want to remind the committee that I made a motion to waive the requirement of the JEPG. And that's all I'm doing. And I think that we should leave it at that, with all due respect to Council Lee. I really I don't think we should hear any presentations tonight. I should just think that we should set the public hearing and the Attorney Lee is going to be welcome to testify at the public hearing and present the plan for his petitioner. And I think we should just leave it, but I'll listen to Andrew on that. I think we should just take the motion on waiving the requirement of the JAPG and setting the public hearing.
Counselor Gentile, I have made the determination as chair that we will hear a short presentation from Attorney Lawrence Lee tonight. I don't think it'll do harm. I think that the more information we have as we move this forward, the better. And we will get to that motion. In fact, the three motions that you've made as soon as Attorney Lee finishes.
Chair, with all due respect, what if there's someone else that wants to weigh in on the property and what they would like to do? I think we should ask Andrew what he thinks. Seriously, what if there's somebody else in West Newton that would like to make a presentation on those spaces? I don't think that we should be hearing from anybody tonight. We got a pretty clear motion in front of us and we got work to do in the future. And I think we should just vote on that. But if Andrew says that he's okay with somebody else weighing in, then I'm all ears.
Madam Chair, so then Councilor Gentile makes a valid point, which is it's you're the chair. It's at your discretion of whether or not members of the public speak, notwithstanding the fact that Attorney Lawrence Lee is representing a prospective purchaser and a butter. They are just members of the public. So my recommendation is if you do allow any member of the public to speak, including Attorney Lawrence Lee, that you open up comment to other members as well, just to be even-handed.
All right. Yeah, I have no problem with that. Good. Counselor Lipoff.
I was just going to agree with Councilor Gentile and offer my advice to you that this is starting the ball rolling. This is perfunctory. I think we should just do it. We've got a public hearing and we're going to have our own meeting to talk about the rest. So I think that would be the right way to go.
Any other comments from the committee? All right. I think what I will do is open it up tonight to the public. We have a hand up, Susan Kreitzis, I believe. If I've pronounced your name right, Ms. Kreitzis, would you like to speak? And if so, you may go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Glad that you're not making a decision. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad that you're not making a decision tonight. I'm the property owner at 1284 Washington Street. So the back of my building abuts that parking space. When everything was changed, a lot of the retail parking spots were taken away. So I would like to see the public hearing and see what happens. And just wondering, there are some other people in the back there. I don't know if they're here tonight and have comments as well. So I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments, and they may very well like to speak at the public hearing. They will be notified, all abutters will be notified that there's a public hearing. And I would encourage anyone that would like to come forward with any suggestions to also come forward at that public hearing. Thank you very much for your comments, and I see we have a Miss Belleville who also.
Madam Chair, excuse me. Am I missing something? I thought we were just going to stay public comment and not hear from Lawrence Lee and just move this ball rolling and let the public comment happen at the public hearing. Why are we taking public comment now? Because that means Councillor Lee would probably like to speak, and I thought we were on the same page, no?
Do we, is this the will of the committee that we, that
Go
we
to a
not
vote.
hear from Attorney Lawrence Lee tonight and that we just move this forward? Councillor Lucas, what would you like to? Yes, go ahead.
I would like to hear from Attorney Lawrence Lee. And if following the advice of Attorney Andrew Lee, let others be allowed to speak. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from or opinions from the committee, which I would like to entertain? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, I would side with Councilors Gentile and Lipoff. I think if we're going to have a public hearing, then let's hear from the public at the public hearing.
All right. Very well then. If I don't, is there anyone else from the committee that would like to weigh in on this? Hearing none. It sounds like the preponderance of comments are that we wait and have the public comments done at the public hearing. Councillor Attorney Lawrence Lee, I am sorry that we are not going to open it to your comments tonight. I am fine with that, and I would ask you to save your presentation until the public hearing. Ms. Flynn is going to give us some dates, a possible date for the public hearing. I think it was, well, we'll wait until we finish with the other business, and then I will let her weigh in on when we would have the public hearing. So are we finished with comments for now?
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that there is just officially a formal motion in front of us to waive the public hearing and to set a to waive the JAPG and to set a public hearing at a date that you determine to make sense. But I think it's important tonight.
Those two items are in your current motion. And I would ask you, Councillor Gentile, if you would also add to that that the committee elects to make an initial non-binding determination that the property could be made available for sale or lease. I think that needs to go into this motion also. Would you like to add that to your motion?
If you think that we should add that, that's fine. I'm happy to accept it. Thanks.
Good. Does everyone understand what the motion is then? The motion is to have the committee elect to make an initial non-binding determination to put the property up for sale or lease, to waive the JAPG since there are no buildings on the property, and to then hold a public hearing within 60 days. Counselor Gentile has made that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you very much. And I think with that, unless there are any other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Counselor
moved.
Janeberg, we have to pick the date of the public hearing.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead with that. You have chosen a date that I think a few of us have looked at. That date, I believe, is the, was that the 20th?
February 20th.
February 20th. Okay. I think that's the earliest that most people can make that meeting. Do we have any comments from the committee?
Sorry, yeah, isn't that, sorry, my son just graduated from high school, but isn't that school break week? Anyone here with kids still in our schools?
Yep.
Anybody?
Yeah,
believe
it
it.
is.
Counselor
It
Lucas,
is.
is that date a problem for you?
It's not a problem, but Council Oliver is correct. That is during school vacation week.
Yeah, it's, I'll personally be out of town, not that that's a reason to postpone, but for the sake of public comment, there might be a fair number of the public who are out of town.
You have a good point there. So, Cassidy, when would be the next possible date after that? The next Thursday that we could have a public hearing?
So the next Thursday would be February 20th.
February, say it again?
February 27th.
February 27th. Is that does anyone foresee a problem with that date? Okay, then we will shoot for February 27th. I think that's probably better than having it, as you say, during the vacation week. Okay, shall we have a motion? May I have a motion to set the public hearing on February 27th?
I'll move it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? The ayes have it. Good. Okay. Is there anything else, Counselor Lee or Ms. Flynn, that we need to look at before we adjourn?
No,
Nope.
we're all set.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Do I have it?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, abstentions, the ayes have it. Good. Thank you very much, everybody, and we are adjourned for the evening.
Thank you.
Okay.